So welcome to the Santa Barbara County SELPA AT services overview. I'm Lisa Foote, and I'm an occupational therapist and the new SELPA AT specialist. This training is really just a training to give you an overview of what I'm trying to set up here and how you can access that. If you have any questions as we're going, please don't hesitate to just butt right in. It's fine. Just to give you a little background, my story as an OT, I decided it's called pivoting into AT because there is a definite overlap. I've got 14 years of OT practice under my belt, 12 in school-based and 2 in home health, and pretty much I think 13 of the 14 years have been in Santa Barbara here. So most of my career has been here. When I worked at SBCO, I remember there was the assistive technology position, and I wondered, like, what is that person doing and how is it different from OT? And probably for speech as well. Like, well, let's see, we all kind of do assistive technology, but what does the assistive technology person do? So I kind of was just curious about it and wanted to sort of figure out what they were doing. And at that time, it was Debbie Grant, and she was doing a lot of make and takes and visuals, you know, low-tech visuals for our teachers, which these days is, you know, everybody has those. So I'm glad that there's so many more visuals, low-tech visuals in our classrooms. Moving on, I also had this nagging feeling that there was something missing in terms of language access. Of course, now I can say that with the jargon, but at the time I was like, I'm not sure, something just isn't quite right to me. I'm not really sure why. I had worked in a group home years ago in the early 2000s where I had first been introduced to PECS, the teach method. Everybody came in after school and before school. They had their visual schedule, they had their work tasks. So that was the first time I had seen it. And then moving into working at preschool, there the visual schedules were, and there were the little, sometimes the student had a little book that was basically had some food choices, and that was about it. And sometimes a student would, you know, have a token board or, you know, point to the day of the week, especially for preschool. We already have all those visuals. But I was like, well, what else? What else? You know, I was just puzzled and thought that there must be something else that I'm missing. But of course, I was missing everything because I'm, you know, not as a speech therapist, not trained as a speech therapist, but it was always in my mind. So that's probably those two things, the curiosity of what does the AT person do and how do we figure out how to communicate with our nonverbal speakers, especially those ones on the autism spectrum. So once I transferred over to working at Santa Barbara Unified, I started to go to more AT related trainings just to kind of understand and provide those supports as well. So the objectives for today are understanding why the IEP team discusses AT, understand what it is as a device or service, that it's not a goal per se, and then you understand where we discuss it and how it all connects together. And most of us already know all this, so this is just a review. I'm presenting this training for all the different people on the IEP team, so I just want to have it all general as well, specific. These were the OT objectives I had presented to OTs last week. Pretty much the same as the SLP objectives. The difference, that one of the things I wanted to highlight in this training is just the formal differences and similarities between, for you guys, for SLPs working in AAC and who or what an AT professional would be in terms of the actual profession. I'm going to introduce you to the two main clinical frameworks that are used in AT assessments and AAC assessments, other than the speech assessments, the sort of the general assessments, and then orient you to the Google site I'm building and how to access supports that I'm trying to provide. And then if anybody has case studies, we can discuss those as well. So in terms of what is the difference between OT, a speech therapist, and a special education teacher or an assistive technology professional, I think it's just a good idea to kind of go over this to know what the difference is or who does what. So OT has the NBCOT, you guys, ASHA has speech, does ASHA, and then it's my understanding that if you're doing a Montessori credential, you're probably going to have a little bit of AT coursework in there. But there's usually not as much in a mild mod credential work. So, and currently there's no official credential specifically for AAC. So there's all sorts of people doing all sorts of AAC related things out there, and it does get confusing. So I wanted to just clear that up. So in terms of if you were to become an assistive technology professional, RESNA is the one that provides that credential, similar to as you guys already have ASHA or I have the MBCOT. They will do an assistive technology professional, or they'll do a seating and mobility specialist. And you can see there what the, what the recommendation or what the background is to do that. So as long as you've done your master's degree, you're working with AAC, you're working with AAT in the school over 6 years with 1,000 hours, you can study and sit for this exam, which is similar to the exam you've already taken for speech. What I wanted to highlight, the difference is anybody can become an ATP. So if you look there, if you're a high school graduate or you have a GED, and you've just done work for many, many years in the field, you're also eligible to take that. So there's all sorts of different people with many different backgrounds that become assistive technology professionals. So for instance, you could have a special education teacher who has worked a lot in AT or AAC for many years and takes that expertise and becomes an ATP. So you never know what the background is, but there can be people with great backgrounds or people that don't know that much, and that's why it's so important in terms of at least AT and AAC to still have a team approach, because you might not always get somebody who has that specific background maybe that led them in there. Many times it could be somebody who already is blind or deaf or has complex disabilities that then go into the profession to help other people. So just to give you the two biggest assessments that AT/AAC will use in a general term are the WADI, this Wisconsin Technology Initiative, and these have step-by-step guides and forms to assess any of these things in the following domains. And if any of you have gone to the previous SELPA AT trainings, they taught this. So these are all the different categories. So of course, communication is there. When I've used the WADI to do assessments, of course, I would give the communication section to the speech therapist, or, give the certain sections out to whoever might be able to fill them out. So this is a great way to get information. You don't have to assess all of these. It's just you pick the ones that is important to the team or that you need to assess. Don't do all of them. It's really overwhelming. And then the second one is the SET framework, which is simply the student, the environment, the task, and the tools. So there's links to both of those that you can look at. And this is just to sort of demystify, like, what does an assistive technology person do? This is what they're doing. They're first looking at what is the task that they have to do, and is there technology to help that student? Always the task first. So as an OT, that's great, task first, then technology. Many times people think, oh, the technology comes, like, I want to know about the technology. It's like, no, what's the task first? What is the communication task? What is this academic task? What is the daily living skills task? We have to really focus on the task. So for speech, it's like, which are the tasks that you're wanting to do? Do you want them to do more commenting, or, whatever the goals might be? Because you might be able to use different tech for those different types of communication tasks. In terms of what assistive technology is, this is the official definition of an item, piece of equipment, or product system, whether acquired commercially off the shelf, modified, or customized, that is used to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of children with disabilities. So that is officially what that means. When we're in the IEP team, we discuss assistive technology every year. And that is just to help the students do their goals or their service, have their goals work for them. So every year we talk about the present levels of performance. So what are the tasks that the students currently doing, and what are their present levels? Are they using technology now or not? Anything can be technology. It's helpful to remember that every little thing we tend to do in the classroom could probably be called some type of assistive technology. we write the goals, and then we discuss, are there special factors and accommodations? And special factors is usually where, you know, an AAC low tech or high tech dynamic display device is always put in that special factors page. And for me as an OT, like I will put sensory equipment in that special factors page, and then usually it should be duplicated also in accommodations. And I love to tell people, please duplicate it. It might seem redundant, but you'd be surprised that sometimes stuff's on the special factors page and it didn't make it to the accommodations page, or sometimes stuff is on the accommodations page that also should be there. Anything that you feel is assistive technology can go in both places. You just never know if a teacher's really keyed in to look at special factors or keyed in to look at accommodations. And sometimes, I don't know what everybody's opinion is, sometimes when things are just on the accommodations page, it's kind of like, oh, well, it's there if the student needs it. You know, we'll use it if we remember to use it. So if you also see it on special factors, it kind of makes the accommodation like more important and more robust, because it's, you know, you can talk about it from both of those pages. Of course, within assistive technology, we're always looking at the continuum. So for instance, OT writing, low tech, what's mid tech, what's high tech, pencil grip, graphic organizers, and we go into specialized software. You always want to have the continuum. You know, it shouldn't be, I mean, it just needs to be whatever the student needs. It could be, oh, 70% is low tech and we got a little bit of high tech, or vice versa. So for instance, for communication, low tech would be, well, we're just looking at that student's natural eye gaze, where it's going, and following that lead and using objects. Mid tech would be those PEX cards, picture cards, building a low tech eye gaze system. Switch activated toys, I would kind of put in the mid tech category these days, because they might be hard to get, but they really only do kind of one thing, cause and effect. And then high tech, of course, would be moving into any dedicated device or iPad with AAC systems, and then looking at those eye gaze systems too. So the next 4 slides are all the same on purpose, just because all of our roles are the same. We all, as a teacher, as an OT, and as an SLP, we all need to familiarize ourselves with whatever the assistive technology is. We want to ensure that they're using them appropriately or within your session, and vice versa. If you're, you know, as a speech therapist, if you're doing certain communication tactics or tools, you know, you do want to make sure that, of course, the teacher is doing it, the pair is doing it, but also cross over and, you know, tell the AP teacher or tell the OT. Sometimes, and tell the vision therapist. Sometimes we kind of continue to work in our silos, and we're all talking to the case manager, but not talking to each other. So we just all really want to be thinking about that. So when it comes time to discuss it, you know what to discuss, or say things come up throughout the year, you want to be able to go ahead and look at that, monitor it, try something different. You know, it's not a goal per se. You can always be trialing things and asking questions and trying things out. You have kind of the freedom to do that, or you should feel like you have the freedom to do it. So assuming that you're doing all this, and now I'm in this position, and how are you going to access, or when would you need to access specialist supports? And briefly, does anyone have any questions specifically related to your current students? Let me put my gallery on. I can continue to go, or anybody can cut in there. Okay. So now this is the technology part. I'm going to need somebody to tell me if it's working or not. So for this online resources that I'm building, I have 2 different ways that you can look at those. The first one is the Santa Barbara SELPA AT AAC Google Site. And I realized I can't use my links. I have to kind of go backwards. And let's see. Oh, wait. I'm not the best at this. All right. Okay, stop share. All right. Now, can you all see the Santa Barbara County SELPA website? Yes? Okay. So this is the general, this is the homepage of the website. And what you would do is you go to the resources link and scan down, there's assistive technology. Okay. Now are you able to see this? Okay, great. This page is just general links, outside links. So, but the first one is the most important one, is the Santa Barbara County SELPA AT AAC Google Site. So I'm going to show you that first and maybe come back to this. So able to see the Google site? Okay. So this is a Google site that I'm building. It's in process, but this is for trying to gather all the different forms and some different resources in one place. That will be easy for you to remember to find. So home, for right now, the two I'm going to highlight are the forms and then AAC. So for forms, if you have a general question, you need some support, some question about a system, you'd fill out this Google form. And that basically will say who you are, your school, your email, best times to reach you. And I have a bunch of different things that you could check off if you need that, or you can enter your own. And so that's just, do you need any help? And that way I'm able to kind of have the data kept separate in the Google system instead of looking through my emails. So the next one is a follow-up form. Say we've already had an assessment, or you've already talked to me. This is just a follow-up form that I may send you, or vice versa if you have equipment out, etc. Down here is the forms, the new forms that we've developed for SELPA. So this is the guide for consideration of assistive technology. So this form would be if a parent has a question about assistive technology, a teacher does, if everybody has questions and they're not sure where to go, you can look at this page first. And this kind of breaks down different assistive technology you can try or basically ask if you've tried for different things. So motor aspect of writing, reading, decoding and comprehension. There's math here, learning, executive functioning. And this basically just helps the team guide guide themselves about what we could talk about or what you could add to the IEP. And then this next form is the AT AAC assessment referral. So this would be you've already discussed assistive technology, the student is using it, it's not working, or you want something else that you're not quite sure what it could be, it might be more specialized, then you obviously would send the support form and get into conversation with me about it. But the assessment referral form, open that up. This just has more in-depth details of the student. So you'd fill all this out. What is the assessment focus? And basically, as I'm saying, it's always the task that comes first. So try to help your teams, be specific of what is the task, what do you want the assistive technology assessment to look for, to look at. Of course, for AAC, we already know what that's for, and the AAC section on this form is going to be at the end. But this just generally is what is the focus. If you don't have a focus, you could end up, I'm going to have to look at all those 10 sections of WADI, and that's not really going to be efficient or probably what's actually needed. There's probably many things you could actually look at that WADI and say, oh, check, check, check. We're doing so many things in all these different areas, but this one area we're having trouble with. Background information for the student, and write out anything that's currently being used, because this will be my snapshot of what's happening with the student. And then your academic functioning goes here. Just it's brief. What's their level? What are they doing? What's their level? What are they doing? They're doing EdMark or whatever. Learning, executive functioning. So down here for AAC. So this is where you come to AAC and complex or low incidence needs. And what I've been saying for AAC assessments is obviously I'm an occupational therapist that's working in AT and AAC now. So what I'm doing is a hybrid model. I'm not going to come in as this expert saying, do this and do that. It's going to be a team process. Part of that team process is, we have, I'm sure many of you know, like we can end up having students, in high school and transition age or such that, they're complex. They haven't been tested because they can't access testing. So they maybe have had their whole career as rating scales and observations. And sometimes that's where the mismatch could be in terms of the AAC. Like, well, we want to try this, or we want to try that, but we're not really quite sure what the barrier might be. Is it cognitive? Is it motor? What is it? And when you don't have any way to find out cognitive scores or developmental scores, that kind of prevents some of that analysis. So if you have an AAC assessment that you're wanting to help with, and there's really nothing to go on with cognitive, what I'm saying is we're going to do you would do an assessment plan prior to the AAC assessment plan, because you'd want to try to get some more data on that student that's not just observational. And the school psychs, basically what I'm saying is, if say the student is accessing different tasks in a certain way as the teacher, right? But they can't access the standardized test, so we know that. But how can we make the standardized test accessible and mimic the way that the student is learning? Of course, those won't be standardized scores because we're not doing it in a standardized way, but it should give a little bit more baseline developmental age equivalency, those kinds of things. At least there's some other data points to go on. And if there isn't that happening, one part of the supports I'm going to be offering is trying to help the school psychs figure out how to do that. How can we switch the accessibility for these tests to get a little bit better idea of what the student can do? Receptive language, so all this is you guys, you just check off anything you need to check off. What are the current accommodations? What's the student's program? And these are the complex needs. So if there's more vision, hearing, mobility, motor control, current technology. So that's would be for that. And moving on. This is a consult form. If we have I've been doing some just informal team meetings or just meetings one-on-one with teachers or other speech therapists. This is something we can use to track what the conversation was about or what the steps are we're going to do. And then this is the procedural handbook. So tells you all the different procedures of this is how we're going to do an assessment. This is how the referral works, and explains the forms, which I have out for you. So moving to AAC, this is, since I really love AAC, this is the only page I've really been building on. So on AAC, AT, and UDL, you're going to see this click here for AAC resources. This is a great program that Placer County is running. And so they've curated all sorts of AAC resources and AT resources and UDL in these things called flip kits. So this is really helpful. I think would be really helpful to share with parents. Like, what does it mean to be an emergent communicator or an entry-level communicator or what does this mean with the technology? And it gives you, well, if you're an emergent communicator, here are some things that you could be using, and gives you some ideas. And maybe your teachers already have all these things, but it's like, oh, this is what this means. This is the level that they're at, and kind of educate the parents that way, instead of maybe jumping up to advanced or whatever. So that, I thought that was really helpful. So that's there for all of the pages. There's an AT one and an AAC one. Now, one of my biggest things that I'm interested in is obviously modeling and helping students and teachers learn how to use AAC. And I'm very visual, so I just have collected all sorts of visual supports that you can print out and share. Tip of the ice, this one's good. So some of you may have already seen many of these or not. I'm just a person that likes to look at a picture and kind of see the whole thing and understand what I'm supposed to do. So you might have paras or teachers that do better with visuals or not. So hopefully I have them all shared as public, so I'm hoping that people can just print these out. So I have that. I have the modeling, layer cake, exploration, acceptance, try it, curiosity, acknowledge, and exposure. I have the s'mores training, which would be slow rate, model, respect, repeat, expand and build up and stop. Rating yourself on AAC. I haven't played this yet, but I think this would be a great game to kind of play with anyone, especially with adults. What can you say with 20 words? You know, the AAC prompting hierarchy is here. And then these are 2 reading boards, common, ask, respond for reading, and the reading board here. And that is really all I have going on at the website just yet. So go back to my PowerPoint. So those were the 2 sites. And then, oh, okay. One of my technology problems is that for some reason, I can't get my iPad to connect to Zoom on my computer. I've been able to connect it on other people's Zooms, but not on my own. But if you'd like, I'll stop the share and I can go over the voiceover features. And this might be helpful for some of your students. So if you have an iPad, you go to accessibility. You go to accessibility and then you go to voiceover. I know this is not high tech, I'm so sorry. Once you're on the voiceover page, if you go down to voiceover, I don't know if anyone's ever chosen voiceover. VoiceOver basically reads your whole entire screen constantly, like a screen reader, and it's pretty overwhelming. I haven't had a student that's needed that yet. I've turned it on here and there, but then literally everything's red and it's a lot. So that's just, this is called the VoiceOver page, but you're not going to turn on VoiceOver. The speaking rate's there, and if you keep going down to typing. If you press the typing and then you go to typing feedback, you can then say, I want characters spoken, I want words spoken, I want characters and words spoken. And that's kind of an easy way to start having a little bit of text to speech, text to whatever. So then if I go into my notes,
hello.
Now I can type anything I want on a notes page and it's going to speak it for me. So that's something easy to play with, to show teachers or to use with yourself. If you want to type their name and have them see it read to them, that might be fun. So that is in VoiceOver, in the VoiceOver page. There's all sorts of other things on there, but those are that's the one I've basically used so far. The other one that's really great is speaking the selection. So where is that one? I'm trying to think. So that one you'd go to speech, I think. Nope, it's not there. Shoot. Of course, I can't remember where it is now. VoiceOver. There's one setting where, you know how you connect, you select all, or you select a little bit, and then the little window comes up that says cut, copy, or paste. When you have the, here you go. Keep going down VoiceOver and then go to spoken content. Hopefully you have that. Speak selection is the first one. If you toggle speak selection on, now a speak button will appear when you select the text. So if I were to go, let's see. Now, if I go back to here, this is, of course, if I select it. Of course, it's not selecting, but it should come up in the little black box. It should say speak, and then you can press the speak button and it will speak. And you can also, you can speak the screen. So if you do want a spoken screen, not voice over the entire thing, but if you're like, okay, let's just speak this whole screen, you can have speak screen on, which is swiping down with your 2 fingers at the top, and then the content of that screen will be read. The next one is highlight content. So when it's speaking aloud, you can have that highlighting. And then the typing feedback is also, you can also get that there on the typing. So those are kind of a quick and dirty accessibility for the interplay of typing and speech that can be helpful. And then the next slide, I believe, was, let's see. So yeah, speech and typing feedback. Chrome extensions are basically, the apps of the Google universe, and there's so many to name. And I realized I was trying to show in my last training, oh, here's my whole list of Chrome extensions that I can use, and they don't come up. But what does come up is if you go to the Chrome extension store, you can just kind of pan through it. And so there's lots of stuff. Like the first time I went on there, I typed in dyslexia. So there's different things for, different extensions for dyslexia and all sorts of different stuff. And read and write. The main ones that people tend to be using in school are the Google Read and Write, co-writer, of course, and then Cami is another one that is, a PDF filler. So students can type into a worksheet if it's a PDF format and using Cami. So like I'm telling everyone to go explore, I also must explore it myself. So whenever I have a chance, I try to do that. And so the rest of these slides are just basic assistive technology accommodations and ideas that you can share with teachers or parents or whoever you might need. So reading, writing. These are just prettier slides that are sort of the same as the guide for consideration form. Of course, the guide for consideration form is short, and we wanted it to be short, not pages and pages of things. But these are just different resources that you can think about using. And these are some more resources. So I will be able to send the PowerPoint out at a later date. And also we can have this up on YouTube for people to watch. So now it's open for any specific questions or comments that are coming from you guys. What are your needs, AAC wise or AT wise? Anything that I can answer or help you with in terms of this new position and how to access it if you need it.
I kind of have a question. There's a fellow SLP, and I think we emailed you about last week. We already kind of have, well, in the works, kind of a system to go through for accessing more high-tech AAC and AT. And right now, what we're really struggling with is just buy-in from teachers on even modeling and using that low-tech communication in the classroom before we, they just want to jump to iPads and all these higher tech devices that you were saying too on that, with that website on emerging communicators that just might not be appropriate at the time. So what, I guess, you're presenting to the mild mod population as well, the teaching. So what are you going to be going over, I guess, training with them on AAC AT? Because we are just trying to get buy-in at this point with our teachers, and we're really struggling.
Yeah, well, and so thank you for that question. I know that is one of the main issues. It's sometimes not even the technology, it's actually that part of the puzzle. And one of my ideas was trying to arrange having trainings, like modeling trainings, but it's adult, like coming in. Of course we can't because of COVID right now, but coming in, having a bunch of iPads, if it's high tech, and practicing using them with each other, not feeling like, oh, like the students are here and we've got to figure it out and do it all at once. So that's an idea. I know it sounds simple, but I find that those visuals, those modeling visuals can kind of help.
Yeah,
So
no, we've gone over that with them before.
Yeah.
I was just kind of curious. I guess for our purpose, I know this is very specific to what we have at Santa Maria Bonita, but do you have like a library access of higher tech devices that we might not be able to readily get at our fingertips, like from PRC or Tobii Dynavox, or when would we necessarily refer, like are teachers supposed to refer, are speech only supposed to refer? How are we kind of using it at the district level to go to you, I guess?
Well, I mean, so on my, right now, what I have is, I have like 4 iPads, 5 iPads with just like the main AAC software apps on them. So,
Okay.
so
Okay.
SnapCore and Touch Chat, WordPower, Proloquo, LAMP, Go Talk
Okay.
Now, I've got those all, and AAC Genie and such. So I've got those on iPads that, I can bring in and use with the
Okay.
student, or I haven't gotten to the point, and they're not really loaners per se. They're kind of more like, well, if there's an assessment going on, that's kind of a trial device.
Okay. And so like a child could use it for 30 days type trial, or you would come in and do your assessment with that device?
Well, so technically, for some AAC assessment, we want to do not just one trial, right? So
Yeah, at least
that
3.
basically it has a bunch of different software that you can try. So
Okay.
hopefully, yeah, at least in 30 days or such, if for a 60-day assessment, hopefully you're going to have time to take some data with a couple different apps or a couple different things. And if, we need to get something more specific from a vendor, we can try to do that. I haven't had to do
Okay.
that, of course.
And so, okay. And teachers, you're expecting whatever discipline to be referring to you, or are you
Yeah,
looking? Okay.
I mean, technically teachers are likely going to be doing more of the AT side, the academic access side.
Okay.
And I would really more expect speech, you guys to be doing primarily the AAC stuff. I
Okay.
wouldn't really expect a teacher to be
Oh,
doing
no.
that.
Okay.
And if you did, but you're doing it together, like if if you have a student that you want to refer, like you need to get with a teacher and fill out that
Okay.
report form together.
Okay.
Because then at least, everybody's aware of the levels. And again, like if there's, we don't have a lot of data on the student, we want to try to spend some time getting that data before an assistive AP is signed for me to come in and help. Because I really think, I'd like to use that 60 days that I'll have to be trying the trials and, collaborating that way. Like, oh, how do we model, or how do we use these different systems to get the data? Because usually from my experience, what's happened is if a person comes in and do an AT assessment, they might see the child for an hour, write their report, give their recommendations, and well, they didn't really match the actual tasks that the student was doing, or here's an AAC system, but then there's no follow-up and nobody knows what to do with it. So, I'm trying to have this be more of a team process. So I'm not a regular member of the team, but I'm going to come in and be a member
with
of
their
the team.
expertise.
And so if you feel like you have the expertise and, you've got access to a couple different things, you might not ever need me, but if something comes up that you're like, oh, I need research, or I need access to something more specialized, I think it's going to go in this direction, that you can use these type of resources. Absolutely.
Perfect. Okay. I guess I just wanted clarification on
that.
That sounds good. A lot. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Otherwise, yeah, I'd like to, as an OT, like I think my love of the whole thing is trying to figure out, help people. How do we build this into a routine? Like, how do we figure out how to model it? Maybe some teacher is more better at, well, I can use it during this activity, or I can use it during this time of the day. Or maybe a teacher just needs, here's a poster at every station that has different core words that you could use. It's hard because you definitely need visuals for the kids and visuals for the teachers. Have big visuals of, have big poster sized or window sized visuals of an AAC system. I went to this great session at Closing the Gap, and they talked about, what if you have 3 different or 4 different systems going on? What if a student has Proloquo and this student has Touch Chat and this student has LAMP? Like, yeah, what do we do? And basically she's like, just put up a poster of LAMP, put up a poster of, put up a poster of all 3, and, you know, teaching the teacher to get into the habit of like, okay, we're going to point out this week or this today, you know, Johnny uses this. Here's how we find it on here. Oh, today, you know, here's how we find it on Proloquo because so-and-so is using Proloquo, you know. It's just all of that kind of day-to-day routine stuff that was really the breakdown, I think, that we all feel. Rebecca?
Yeah, could I just add a little bit there? I don't know, Kylie, have you guys been using Year of Core from Practical AAC?
Yeah, and we have course size
Okay.
posters, and we have our yeah, we've been doing
Yeah, okay.
try to come up with like a universal design with just our picture communication supports.
Mhm.
And we just are having a lot of not just having the teachers learn the modeling process, and like you were saying,
Right.
with this kids in the classroom, it gets overwhelming, but just the buy-in is very difficult at this point. So we're kind of just
Mhm.
it's a balancing
Yeah.
act.
Right, right. So the Year of Core actually has a core word of the week.
Yep.
Like that sort of a thing. That's okay.
Yeah, we've done
And
that.
yeah, and sometimes if you can attach it more to the task, then you can, you know, get that buy-in a little bit more. And
Yeah.
like making it really routine based, but it's hard. And depending on the
Yeah.
staff you have, it's super hard. But
Yeah, so I'll check it out again and definitely look more into it. But we've definitely
Yeah.
taken it the one word level, and then just
Mhm.
we're always
Yeah.
playing around with different ways that makes it easier, but we're still trying to find something that's
I know, I
It's
wish
more
tricky.
attainable.
there was some way to figure out what, I mean, we know what the breakdown is. How do we assist with that breakdown, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
Because really, if it's all about just I mean, a lot about modeling and building it in and giving that stimulation, then, you know, I think many teachers are still under the impression, well, they're not independent, they're not pushing it, they're not da-da-da, they're not doing this and that. It's like, well, you know, it doesn't matter. Like it matters that you do it, but that's the hurdle.
Definitely.
So, I mean, I just try to encourage, you know, whoever I know working, like, does your student have an AAC? Like, you have to try to figure out how to spend some time with it, you know, even if you have to spend your couple sessions not doing your objectives, try to figure out how to use that device with them, because once you do, it's just that extra layer, it kind of fits in, you know. Once I tried to figure out how I would use AAC with my sessions with the kids that had it, you know, it was a hurdle, but I did it. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is exactly what teachers have to do. And it's so overwhelming for them. So, you know, some sort of, I think it's hard to do on Zoom. Well, I'm going to try to do it on Zoom. That there's next month I'm running a Proloquo training and then like a modeling training. So basically, I'm hoping that teachers, if you have Proloquo or your students have Proloquo, like come to this training and figure out how to fix your Proloquo and make it, at least make a new profile that has the core words and learn how to use it a little bit. Because I don't know about you guys, but my observations in terms of the kids down in South County is that many of these kids do have Proloquo. Some are in high school and they're still at like, you know, 15 choice board kind of setups. And so even if I don't like Proloquo or whatever, one solution is to at least change the system, you know, change the system, put a profile on there, start modeling a little bit and see. Maybe that's ultimately not going to be what's going to work, but if you already have, the student already has that. Because if you just sit there with a choice, you know, choice board Proloquo, like, no, you can't do anything with that. You can't even tell anybody to do anything with that. And so I think that people, you know, even other speech therapists they don't feel like they're allowed to like make a new profile and put some core words on there. And so part of it is me just trying to encourage that for those types of cases. No, it's not a full AAC assessment, but at least it's a trial. It's doing something different and trying to help the teachers realize that this is, you know, can't just be the separate thing. So I would love to try to run those types of trainings when we're kind of back in person. I think it'd be better in person than on Zoom personally, but I'll try it. I'll try it next month. We'll see how it goes. Anything else?
I just had a question. I have a couple students that came into my inclusion program this year who I'm very concerned about, and they're transitioning to kindergarten. And a lot probably went into them not being fully assessed for AAC. And so I've been using just some low tech like LAMP modeling with the printouts they have on the LAMP website.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to do that. I thank you for showing us what the options were, because I'm kind of I've been with the county for a while up in North County, and I just don't know what's available for loaning out or what the steps were. So I really appreciate now knowing what to do and how I can contact you, because I am very concerned about a couple of these students, and their parents are as well. So on top of a pandemic, they're dealing with children who do not communicate.
Yeah.
And so I just really wanted to know like my first steps as far as like I can continue with my modeling, you know, what I'm doing. And then should I fill out the form this for you, or I'm just wondering, where should I go with these kids?
Why don't you, I mean, just start out by doing that support form, and then
Okay.
you can kind of talk about what's happening, and then basically decide I mean, I'd like to be able to decide with people like, yes, let's move this to an assessment. This is assessment, or, oh no, if you do this, this and this, try that, you know, that kind of thing. The other thing I'm going to put up on the AAC section of the website is I've been collecting different low tech like core boards and stuff. So those will be able to be printed out too. You know,
Okay. And
it's overwhelming. There's so many things every place. So I'm just like, let me try to like make a little bit of a grouping for you guys to or for the teachers to just print out,
And then another thing I had when I've explored LAMP as well, like they have the access through the language lab. And I'm wondering if the SELPA has an account or like that we can use, because there's lessons on there that are available, but they only post like 2 or 1 free lesson. And so when I had a previous student, we did get language lab through, I think, low incident. I'm not sure how we paid for it, but I'm just wondering if the SELPA in general will have access to that. It's such a great tool for teaching that.
What's it called? It's a website?
It's through PRC, and it's language lab.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you can, if you go there, you can explore it, but it shows like a sample of a free lesson, and it has, the hits for how to get to run or whatever. And then it shows you how to teach it. It has a corresponding book. It has like a ton of a lesson that you can do. So for those students with PRC or using LAMP or Words for Life, that would be a really good resource to offer. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to look into it. I mean, so this is a whole new job, like it didn't exist until now. And I've had to come in and make those forms and I'm just slowly building it up. So I also need the assistance, so those stuff like that, those are the little tips to, yes, please just send them to me so I can know what to try to get for people. Yeah, because if that's something that we could get, that everybody could access, I don't know, I'd have to see. But hopefully I can start building, relationships with the vendors and such. And
Kelly, Heather Walsh got Donna Tadero an iPad that had LAMP on it. And so, I don't know, Donna, did she do that through low incidence? Or did she just have the iPad for Liam?
Yeah. And our kids aren't eligible for loan.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how she funded it.
I don't know, but we have an iPad with LAMP on it in the LEAP program that we got for a student, and Donna doesn't know how Heather got it, but Heather Walsh has also some low tech devices as well, and she might be able to help with that as well.
I think, what I would say, so Santa Barbara Unified, we sort of, we don't have any assistive technology person there either, and Emily Schwab kind of.
Okay.
Basically, she just got 5 iPads. She got, I think she used her Medi-Cal money or mom money or something to get 5.
That's what Donna was just saying. Yeah.
But the difference, so she got like 5 iPads with all those main apps on them. So that's a loaner device within within Santa Barbara Unified. So if Heather, like if LEAP has an iPad that's just for LEAP with a lamp on it, like I would probably recommend, please put the rest of the stuff, put those other apps on there. So they're all there, because you never know, like even a little preschooler might suddenly open this different AAC app and, oh, they're like all over the place, or they're exploring, it'll allow them to explore. So, I mean, I think that would be a good solution at your level is, okay, great, has lamp, but let's put the other ones on there.
But what do you do? What do you do if you have a student that's used to playing on an iPad, and then you introduce this iPad that's communication? The one student I used it with, we just couldn't do it. He just wanted to pound on it, and we had to take it away. We tried to build it into work time, and yeah, he just couldn't do it. Have you ran into any of that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I remember thinking, well, that kid's just stimming on it. They're just stimming on it,
Yeah.
But then again, you really don't know what they're doing. Are they really stimming on it or not? Like I brought my lamp home and gave it to my niece, typical niece. And you know what? She was doing the same exact thing that the autistic kids were doing. I'm like, huh, that's interesting. Like, she's not autistic, but I'm watching the same behavior, like, let me push all these things, all these Z's a million times and A, and then push play and like, so it's hard to say. But in terms of your specific question, I think another good place to start would be to get some different low tech boards. They can be specific to the subject, like here's the low tech board at the snack table, or here's the low tech board at blah, blah, blah. It can be activity specific, and then you get some low tech boards that look like all the different systems. So you can still be modeling low tech. You don't have to jump right to high tech, but if they're used to seeing that low tech that mimics that software, then when you get around to introducing that, then you might have better carryover actually. And then of course you just have to use guided access, and this iPad really is only going to be for AAC apps. We're not going to have it do anything else. That's always the other hurdle. Is like, well, now the student needs 2 iPads. They need their iPad for Google and YouTube, but that can't be the same one as the AAC one. So I think actually anybody should just be doing a bunch of low tech, regardless if the student is using high tech or not, because if the high tech's not there or broken or not charged, then what do you do? At least you can have a binder. So I've been trying to think I have a binder that's just, I'm collecting all these low tech boards. And so I think that might be something to try too. Because the other thing is we want them to have access, model a robust system, and at least with a low tech robust page, it's like, well, they can tap it all they want, it's not going to do anything, so you could still model it, yeah, there's so many different things to think about, and everybody has different places. Every team and every district are at different places where they're at with AAC. So I'm just trying to kind of help people solve problems as they come up, versus making blanket things at this point. But try my best.
I just had a thought too. I used to work in a bigger district up in Sacramento, but they had like kind of like a task force or like an AAC, whereas like multiple people on this leadership team would come together and have conversations about what was needed and what could be used and what's available. Mm-hmm. And then that leadership team dispersed it to the different groups. So like we had different teams, like kind of like in the county we have job alikes where that information was then spread. I just feel like since I've been in the county, there's been a lack of communication and information that's available for even new SLPs coming in, contract employees. Mm-hmm. There's just and so then you get this kid who's now going to kindergarten and no way to communicate. So I'm mm-hmm. struggling with like the step of where, if it's coming, I think it's amazing. You're starting there, you're the one, but like, how can this information really get out to like all of us? And so I know that's overwhelming. I'm just I talked to my supervisor about it. I messaged her or sent her an email because I'm concerned that like these kids are coming and then they're going to be heading to the district, and there's just a lack of communication and information in this area.
Yeah.
And there's also maybe people who don't know, even if you're an SLP doesn't necessarily mean you have experience in AAC. So if you have like people like Rebecca or like I've had experience with students with eye gaze, or, that we've had a little bit more, that maybe we could be helpers in communicating this. So maybe putting a call out to the county or something. Like I'm thinking of how do we make an action for like an action plan, because I think having all the information in one place and all this is so great, but like the long term, I tend to go that way when I'm thinking, but I'm just saying maybe we can, I'd love to help with that, or maybe Rebecca, there's probably people who would be willing to help. So if there's a way that we can get that going, would be
that is something that I definitely would like to get going. Having, we have network meetings in the county, but I'd like to try to start an AAC network meeting, because, speech therapists, not all speech therapists work in AAC. They're not interested in AAC. They don't want to spend the network meeting talking about that. But then people who are into AAC, like that's all we want to talk about all the time, So there's definitely, we've got great people across different places in the county. And yeah, I think we can have we could set up that network meeting. I'm trying to figure out how to get that set up. Should I do it through SELPA? Should it just be, something like a training we sign up for, or something off the books or on the books? It's kind of hard to say, but I would like to have a more regular group of people meeting. So we know what people are doing and we can help each other, and you can help me and I can help you, basically. There's really has been a huge lack of AAC stuff in our county for quite some time. Yeah. That's part of what drove me to going and, starting to do it. And, it's something that, I need to work with you guys and you need to work with me, and we just hopefully get our kids, communicating sooner than later.
Yeah. I think it needs to be about building capacity, because at this point, there's no excuse for a speech therapist working in special education to say AAC is not my thing. It is your thing.
Yeah.
It's part of our license. It's part of our training. If it's not our thing, then whose is it? So, I think it's really about building capacity, and figuring out when I have a student who is nonverbal after even 18 months, like, okay, we don't sit around and wait anymore. We know this. The research has caught up to what we already know.
And
so we don't wait. We don't wait till they're 5, there's not,
Yeah, it's frustrating. You don't want to wait. So, for the speech therapists who don't really know a lot and they don't really want to kind of pick up that slack, I'm in the position where I will help them, but the point in helping them is to, now you're going to be able to do this. My point is trying to build a capacity, right? And
yes.
That we might be able to be doing some more training in the future through Placer County, but I'm going to be doing the AT training, building capacity through them. But that's the AAC training, we can do that too, but there needs to be a speech therapist kind of as the point person for that. So since I'm not a speech therapist, I don't
Well, I'd be glad to help in any way.
Yeah.
Any way I can. I actually have to run though, you guys. I wish I could keep talking because I think this is so important right now. And we're so glad that you're on board. And we have someone to take the lead, take the reins here, because it's been a long time coming. So,
yeah, we had a little bit of a gap for quite some years, and I think that the gap got wider. So,
all right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And yes, I'm going to try to. I think I'll send the PowerPoint out to the participants, and I'm going to try look around for trying to get an AAC network together, and I'm going to try to do that because I think it is important. We need to do that.
Great. All right,
Thank you.
bye.
All right,
Thank
bye.
you, Lisa.
You're welcome.